The sound of rain against the tall glass windows of the hospital was the only thing breaking the silence in the sterile room. A young woman lay on the bed, her dark hair spread across the pillow, her hands trembling as she clutched her swollen belly. Her name was Emily Crawford, the only daughter of one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. Just months ago, her life had been perfect, luxury, love, dreams of a family. But a single accident had stolen everything: her ability to walk, her fiancé's loyalty, and now the approval of her father. At 6 months pregnant, paralyzed from the waist down, she had been told, coldly, ruthlessly, that she was no longer welcome in her father's mansion, nor in his heart. If you're watching this story right now, pause for a moment. What would you do if the very person who was supposed to protect you turned their back on you in your darkest hour? If you believe every life has value, if you believe kindness can change the world, please like this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Emily's father, Richard Crawford, was the kind of man whose name commanded respect in boardrooms, whose signature could make or break fortunes. But at home, his heart was hardened by pride and fear of weakness. He had built an empire from nothing, clawing his way up, and he believed that any sign of vulnerability was a threat. When he saw Emily in that hospital bed, broken, pregnant, abandoned, he saw only failure, shame, and a burden he refused to carry. His words cut deeper than the accident ever could. "You've ruined yourself, Emily, and you'll ruin me. Don't come back." The rain outside blurred the city lights, but Emily's vision blurred with tears. She had no home now, no partner, no family to hold her. The hospital discharged her with only a small wheelchair, a bag of clothes, and a future that seemed terrifyingly uncertain. For nights, she slept in shelters, barely eating, clinging only to the faint kicks inside her belly as a reminder that she wasn't completely alone. And then, fate intervened. It happened late one evening in the hospital cafeteria, where Emily returned for a free bowl of soup she could barely afford. There she met Daniel Harris, a janitor with tired eyes, calloused hands, and a quiet kindness that radiated even in silence. He noticed her struggling to balance the tray on her lap, her wheelchair wheels squeaking as she tried to move. Without hesitation, he stepped in. "Let me help," he said gently, taking the tray and guiding her to a table. Emily looked up at him, startled by his kindness. Most people avoided her chair, her condition, her belly. But Daniel didn't flinch. He pulled up a chair and sat with her, his uniform still damp from the mop. They spoke, cautiously at first. She told him pieces of her story, and he listened. Not with pity, but with genuine care. That was rare. That was everything. What Emily didn't know that night was that Daniel carried scars of his own. He was a single father, raising a 7-year-old daughter, Lily, after his wife had passed away years earlier. Life had beaten him down too. Long shifts, little money, endless sacrifices. Yet despite his struggles, he had never stopped believing in compassion. And when he saw Emily, broken and abandoned, something stirred in him. He couldn't let her face the world alone. Days turned into weeks. Daniel began checking on her after his shifts, bringing her extra meals, fixing her wheelchair when it squeaked, sometimes just sitting quietly by her side when the weight of silence was too heavy for her to carry. Slowly, Emily began to feel something she thought she had lost forever: hope. But life wasn't about to make things easy. Emily's pregnancy became complicated. Doctors warned her that because of her paralysis, childbirth could be dangerous. She would need support, stability, care she couldn't afford. The shelters weren't safe for a woman about to give birth. Daniel saw her breaking, and he made a choice that would change everything. He invited her into his home. At first, Emily resisted. She didn't want to burden him. He already had Lily to care for, already worked himself to exhaustion. But Daniel's eyes were steady. "No one deserves to be alone when they need help the most," he told her. "I know what it's like to be left behind. I won't let that happen to you." And so, Emily moved into Daniel's small, worn-down apartment. It wasn't much. The walls were cracked, the furniture second-hand. But to Emily, it felt like the warmest palace. Lily welcomed her with the innocence only a child could have, hugging her belly and whispering, "Hi, baby." In that little family, Emily found something her mansion had never given her: love without condition. The months ahead were filled with both hardship and beauty. Emily learned how to adapt, how to prepare for motherhood from a wheelchair. Daniel stood by her, helping her with doctor's visits, cooking simple meals, encouraging her when fear overwhelmed her. And slowly, they began to fall into a rhythm, not just as friends, but as something more. Daniel would catch himself watching her smile at Lily, and Emily would feel her heart race when his hand brushed hers while pushing her chair. Meanwhile, Richard Crawford, the powerful CEO, heard whispers of his daughter's condition. He told himself he didn't care. He buried himself in work, in meetings, in the endless pursuit of power. But late at night, when the house was silent, he would glance at the photo on his desk. Emily as a little girl, riding on his shoulders, laughing without fear. The memory gnawed at him, no matter how hard he tried to bury it. Still, his pride chained him. The day of Emily's delivery arrived. The hospital room buzzed with tension. Doctors rushed. Nurses shouted. Machines beeped. Emily clutched Daniel's hand, her face pale with pain and fear. Because of her paralysis, she couldn't feel the contractions properly, couldn't push the way other mothers could. The baby's heartbeat began to falter. The doctors prepared for an emergency. Daniel's voice was the only anchor she had. "You're stronger than you think, Emily. You've survived everything life threw at you, and you're going to bring this baby into the world." Hours later, the cry of a newborn filled the air. Emily wept as they placed her baby boy in her arms. Daniel's eyes brimmed with tears as he watched her cradle life itself. Lily clapped her little hands, whispering, "He's perfect." And that moment for Emily was salvation. She wasn't broken. She wasn't a burden. She was a mother. She was alive. But the story didn't end there. Richard Crawford, unable to silence his conscience, came to the hospital. He expected to see weakness, despair. Instead, he found his daughter surrounded by love, her baby in her arms, Daniel and Lily at her side. For the first time in years, Richard's armor cracked. He realized he had abandoned not a burden, but the strongest person he had ever known. He fell to his knees beside her bed, tears choking his voice. "Emily, forgive me. I was blind. I was a coward. But I see you now." Emily looked at him, her heart torn. She had dreamed of this moment, but she had also built a family that had never abandoned her. After a long silence, she whispered, "I don't need you to be perfect, Dad. I just need you to love me as I am." It wasn't easy. Forgiveness never is. But for the first time in years, Richard embraced his daughter, his grandson, and even Daniel and Lily, realizing that family is not built on wealth, but on love, sacrifice, and second chances. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Every interaction helps spread these messages of hope and compassion to more people who need to hear them. Emily's journey didn't end in despair. It began there, but it rose into something greater. She found strength in her pain, family in strangers, love in the most unexpected places. And perhaps the greatest lesson she carried was this: sometimes, the people who are written off as the weakest become the ones who teach us the true meaning of strength. Because in the end, Emily wasn't saved by power, wealth, or status. She was saved by kindness.